Hi everyone, my name is Karen and this is the DIF, the Disruptive Innovation Festival, an online open access event that gathers people from all over the world, designers, makers, educators, learning businesses, entrepreneurs, to explore the question, the economy is changing, what do I need to know, learn and do? And very close to the economic issue is actually the session of today, presented by Steph Coopers about money systems. If you want to learn more about it, stay tuned. If you want to ask him questions or leave your comments, please use the chat below, the box below in our DIF website, and I will make sure he will get your comments. This one is a physical event that we are live streaming right now. So I will try to put your questions at the end of the session, so I will not interrupt the process. So Steph, welcome to the DIF.
Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm Steph Coopers. I've been looking into monetary systems for a couple of years now. The quest actually started when I was wondering, why can we not solve the climate change problem we are dealing with? We know what to do, we know what needs to be done, but for some reason we are not doing it. And after a while, I came down to our monetary system, which is at the core of quite a few problems we have in the world today. I'll start with explaining the current monetary system and the incentives it gives and the effects it has. And then I'll move over to introducing a new monetary system that works very differently and will create a new set of behaviors. Now, to start off with, scientific research has shown that when you let people interact with money, right after, their willingness to share and to help others decreases measurably. This goes down to the age of 3. They've done the experiment with 3-year-olds, and after they let the kids play with money, they were less eager to share stuff and to help out others. Now, they thought, like, kids like candy more than they like money. So they did the same experiment and had them play with candy. When kids play with candy, this effect is not present. So our current monetary system actually makes us less humane. It changes our behavior towards others, and it makes us more selfish. Now, what other incentives and disincentives does our current monetary system create? Well, we're willing to rip out resources from the earth without any regard to the environment. We're willing to cut down trees and do clear cutting all over the place. We're polluting the air with our industries for economic reasons. We're having a lot of burnouts these days where even though our technology has advanced tremendously and our production capacity has advanced tremendously, there's more burnouts today than ever before in history. We create huge amounts of waste, which we just burn or bury and very often do not recycle or reuse. We are not tackling our climate change problem, and we are already seeing effects of that. We wage war because the arms industry is very profitable. So for economic reasons, very often we just kill other people. On the other hand, we are not taking care of the weak. We have a tremendous amount of homeless people, poor people, that we just do not apparently find the money for to help them out. Also, our healthcare is lacking money. There's an example, scientists have come up with a paper blood test that costs about $1 to produce. Now, to actually use it, they have to get FDA approval. But that costs a lot of money, and right now they are lacking the funds to get the product through the FDA process so that they can actually save real lives in poor countries. There's just no profit in it. It's too cheap. On the other hand, we do put people in prisons because that apparently is profitable, especially in the States where private prisons are good business models. So our current monetary system also has a kind of law of attraction. If you have enough money, then the money will work for itself. It'll grow and it'll attract more money. On the other hand, if you have enough debt, that will also attract more debt. As soon as you get on either sides of the scale to a certain level, then you will either start going up or you will be going down. It's really hard that once you're deep enough in debt to get out of it. And this is both on a personal and a national level. Just look at what happened to Greece. This law of attraction of money creates a couple of very rich people and a lot of very poor people. In 2010, 388 people had the same amount of money as the 3.4 billion poorest people on the planet. By 2015, this number was 62 versus 3.6 billion. So money somehow finds its way to money in the system we have now. Part of it has to do with the way money is created. Now, some of you might think that our money is created by national governments or central banks, but this is actually not so. This is from a paper that is published by the Bank of England, Money Creation in the Modern Economy. Whenever a bank makes a loan, it simultaneously creates a matching deposit in the borrower's bank account, thereby creating new money. Now, of course, every time you borrow money from a bank, you have to pay back more than you lent. So say you borrow $100,000 and you have to pay back $130,000. The $100,000 is newly created money. The $30,000 extra you need to pay back has not been created. So this money you have to go and find with someone else who, at that point, can probably not pay back their debt. Now, this is a systemic problem because in 2010, there was about $70 trillion of money worldwide available. At that same period, there was $223 trillion of debt. This comes down to the fact that for every dollar you have that you are not in debt for, someone else has to be in debt for $3. It is mathematically impossible to pay back the debt, and it is mathematically impossible to get rid of poverty this way. And this is because of the interest on the debt. The money to pay the interest never gets created. So the only thing we can do is get out a new loan to pay off the previous one, thereby injecting more and more money into the economy. This is also the reason why our economy needs to keep growing. As you can see in this graph, which is the US national debt and debt to GDP ratio, the amount of debt in the United States never goes down. The percentage to GDP, on the other hand, sometimes goes down, as you can see over there in the end. When that happens, the economy has a problem. Because if we do not increase the total value in the economy according to the newly injected money, which we need to inject because otherwise we cannot pay off previous debts, our currency will devalue. So the main reason we need to grow economies today is because otherwise our monetary system would fail, which is kind of backward thinking because we're destroying a real planet to keep alive a virtual system, while it should actually be the other way around. Or at least we should not destroy the real planet to keep alive a virtual system. So you could kind of compare our current economic ecosystem with a badly functioning car. Now, you can say, like, you know, you get a car, it's leaking oil, it's polluting, it's not going very fast. Now you can change the tires, you can change the looks, you can change the windscreen, you can turn it into this. But if you don't change the engine, it's still not really going to function really well. So what I'm proposing here is we need to change the engine of our economic ecosystem, namely the monetary system. Before I'm going to introduce the new system, let's have a look at what money actually is. It's a promise to value. If I give you a $50 bill, the $50 bill in itself actually has no value. You cannot eat it, you cannot drink it. If I lock you up in a room with $1 billion and not let you out for about a month, you'll die because the money itself has no value. You can give it to someone because that person believes in the promise and trusts the promise. If you take foreign currency to your country and you go and try to buy bread with it, the person doesn't trust the currency, doesn't believe in the currency, and you won't be able to buy anything with it. Now, one thing that is used to immediately make people believe and trust in money is taxes. As soon as you can pay your taxes with the money, everyone will accept it. This has actually happened in Wurgel in the 1930s, where the mayor introduced a new money with a demurrage fee. A demurrage fee is a fee you pay on holding capital. He allowed people to pay their taxes with it, and he funded his projects with it. And that way, everyone immediately accepted the currency because they could pay their taxes with it. So, let's begin building a new system. It has to be balancing. Our current monetary system is very prone to falling apart. We have several monetary crises around the world. A couple of big ones, but a lot of small ones too. So we want a balancing system, something that is not easily knocked off the socks. We want to disincentivize massive hoarding, because money is a little bit like the blood of the economy. It needs to flow. If the blood in your the blood in your body would stop flowing, certain organs would die off. It's actually the same with our economic system. If money stays put in one place, other parts of the economy starve. And currently, that one place is the financial world. A lot of money is going around there and not actually doing it. We need to make sure there's enough for everyone, so we can stop fighting over it, which is currently the case. And we need to unplug it from the current economic ecosystem, because if we connect it too closely to the one we have, if it is driven by the same underlying engine, then we're going to have something like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a great new cryptocurrency, but it's not actually used as a currency. People are still hoarding it, and they're banking on it that after a while, it'll be worth a lot of money. So people are sitting in massive amounts of Bitcoin just to be able to sell it and gather more money. Our capitalistic system is pretty static. So let's start. The first thing you do is you give everyone a personal account. And on that personal account, you put a basic income. This is actually where money is created. Instead of creating money from debt by private banks, we are now going to create money from a basic income. So every month, say you got $2,000 on your account, this is newly created money. Now, of course, if we keep on doing that, we're going to create massive inflation, because money, the massive money will just increase, the economy stays about the same, and our coin will devalue. To counter that, we're also going to add a demurrage fee, just like what happened in Wurgel. So every month, a percentage of your money will be taken off your account and destroyed. That way, you add money on one side, you destroy money on the other side, and after a while, your total money mass will balance out. Now, usually when I tell people that, they go like, but then my money will just melt away. I won't be able to save anything. True, but we can add a demurrage-free amount to your account. Say you're allowed to save up to $25,000. If you have more than $25,000 on your account, on the amount that is above $25,000, we'll start taking a demurrage fee. For most people, $25,000 or euros or whatever is quite a lot. So you can still have something to save for later. So what happens to your account when we have this? When you start off with a lot of money, your money is going to go away very fast. Start here at 10 million, and after about 320 months, you're at less than 200,000. Now, if you start with nothing, then your account is going to grow pretty fast. Where the line levels out, that's where your basic income is going to equal the demurrage fee. So after a while, your balance on your account will balance. The blue line you see there, that's the amount you're allowed to save. 10 million, it's the same height, but because the scale is different, it's at a different height. Now, if you want to run a business, you probably want to have another account too. That's not a problem. You actually can have as many accounts as you want, but only your personal account will receive a basic income. And only your personal account will have a certain sum that is demurrage free. All the accounts are linked, and you can also link the accounts to different people. That way you can share responsibility over accounts and run a business together with a group of people. Now, say you have a very rich person, and that person has, on top of the basic income of 2,000, an income of about 100,000 a month, and they're spending about 10,000 a month. With the new system, this is what their account would look like after a while. They still managed to amass quite a bit of money, about 4.6 or 4.7 million after a while. But in the current system, with the 2% interest on their account, it looks like this. After about, it just keeps on growing. After 520 months, they're already at $76 million, or euros, or whatnot. This is a huge incentive to hoard money. While here, there's no incentive to hoard beyond that, because you're just gonna lose it. So this is what the total sum of money kind of looks like. You take all the accounts together, you add up the entire sum, and say there's a basic income of about 2,000 and demurrage fee of 2% a month. This is your total mass of money. As with your personal account, it levels out. This is for 1,000 people, that's for 1 million people. It doesn't matter, it scales with population. And over time, it levels out just as fast. If you add money to every person's account from the beginning, it looks like this. It just starts higher, but it levels out just the same. So what are some of the effects of the new system? You got a stable mass of money after a while, and which grows and shrinks with your population, because if someone dies, that means that person doesn't create money every month. If someone new gets born, you have a new person that injects money into your economy. And it caters to a growing and a shrinking economy. It just moves with the number of people. Usually economies grow and shrink together with the number of people, and of course the production means. If your production means go up, you will generate more value. If they go down, you'll generate less value. The one thing is though, the money system does not dictate growth anymore. This system will survive a shrinking economy. Prices might fluctuate a bit, but it's not going to be a total disaster. And it creates a couple of different incentives too. Money will circulate. No one's going to hold on to massive amounts of money because it's just going to be destroyed anyways. And interest-free lending becomes an option. If I have $1 million new and you're saying like, oh, I actually could use $500,000 for a project, I'm more than willing to lend it to you interest-free, because that way I protect my 500,000 from the 2% demurrage fee that I otherwise would pay. So what I'm creating is a new income stream by you paying me back monthly. and it creates an incentive for long-term investment in real projects. Currently, our current economic system creates an incentive for short-term investment and capitalization, which means projects like climate change, which are long-term investments, are not interesting. But short-term investments with high capitalization in this system are not interesting, because as soon as you receive the new capital, you want to get rid of it as fast as possible. So it's way more interesting now to invest in a long-term project that generates a regular revenue than in a short-term project that just generates a one-off capitalization. On loans, at one point when the monetary mass balances itself, quite a few people will have money above the 25,000. What they can do is they can say, like, this money is available for lending. And since it has to be a digital system anyways, you can automate that. People can say, like, this money is available for lending at this rate of payback. And then the system can go, like, I want to borrow 20,000, 30,000, a million. The system can actually go look around to see which people are willing to lend money, and then that money can be transferred to me, and I'll pay back, and the system takes care of redistributing my paybacks. Payback is guaranteed because I've got a basic income. So I can always pay at least up to 2,000 a month to the people I've lent money from. If we're a group lending money, that means that our total basic income can be used to pay back. So when you lend money to someone, there's always a guarantee that you will get money back. Now, I could go into extra constructs to check people's credit rate and stuff like that, but I just want to explain the basic principle, and then later on we might get into a discussion on that. So this is what our economy looks like now. Money is created through a basic income, and it's destroyed through a demurrage fee. Now, we can take this one step further. Right now, for things like education, public health, public transport, taking care of the environment, taxes need to be raised. And those taxes are used to actually pay for those things. Now, when the economy is not doing very well, there's less taxes that come in, so the government's budget is smaller, and usually where do they cut? In those projects for the public good. We can change that around. You could say that for each project that is for the common good, we create as much money as is needed. That way, you actually get a common stream economy. Because now, money is injected into your economy by projects that are good for everyone. Your education, your public healthcare, your public transport, taking care of the environment, all those things can be projects for which money is created. The side effect is it has to be transparent. The monetary streams that are created, the public needs to know where the money is going to, because otherwise you open the door for corruption. If you do this behind closed doors, then there's definitely going to be people that are like, oh, you know what, we'll just create this project and I'll get some money in my pockets from there. So transparency is needed. And you could actually create a huge shift of power when you let your population vote for which projects money can actually be created. This would shift society to a society governed by all of us. So where are taxes? Well, taxes are not necessarily needed, but we can use them. Namely, we can put taxes on all the things we don't want anymore. We can put taxes on mining, we can put taxes on pollution, clear cutting, and waste generation. If you do that, you immediately create the incentive for better behavior towards our environment. Now, how are we going to introduce this system? Because this is quite a shift from what we have today. The way to do it is to create seduction, to actually create an incentive for people to buy into it. Say this is our goal. We want a basic income of 2,000 a month, a demurrage-free limit, so that's the amount of money in which you do not pay a demurrage fee of 25,000. And we want to actually start off by giving everyone 5,000 new currency for free. What you do is, you kind of go like, what are all the offered values we can use? Then you create accounts for everyone. You put 500 on it. That's it. Everyone gets an account. There's 500 coins of this new currency on it. For simplicity reasons, I would say let's let one coin equal one local currency. So one new dollar versus $1, one new euro versus €1, and so on. These accounts just sit there. You don't have to do anything with it. But if you do, and say there's a guy who produces food, and he says, like, you know what, I'm willing to accept 10% of my income from this from this new currency. This means that he actually signs up. Then he's allowed to spend 10% on all the products he can buy with it. It also gives him 10% of the total basic income. It gives him 10% of the demurrage-free limit. And he has the 500 to spend. As long as there's no one else in the system, it just sits there. But what we actually created now is something to seduce someone else, because there's this website bill, and it goes, oh, I can buy food with this currency. That's interesting. But you know what? This is a new thing. I don't really totally believe in it yet. So I'm willing to accept 5%. Then he's also allowed to spend 5%. And he will get 100 a month, demurrage-free limit of $12.50. And now he can use his 500 to buy food from that guy, but only 5% of the price. This guy can buy websites from this guy, also at 5% because he's not willing to accept more. But right now we've got two offered values in the system. And here we've got this coach who goes, oh, that's interesting. I need a website, I need food, it's great. I'm really believing in this. I'm going to go for 15%. So he's willing to accept 15%. So he can also spend 15% by people who want to do that. Gets 300 a month, 37.50 demurrage-free limit, and he gets another 250 free money that is added to his base amount. That's because 15% of 5,000 is 750. The 500, we just give it for free. Even if you're just accepting 5%, you get the 500 anyways. But if you want to have more, then you will have to increase the percentage you're willing to accept. When that happens, the web designer goes like, oh, but I can really use a coach. You know what? I'm going to go to 15%. At that point, his basic income goes up. His demurrage-free limit goes up, and he also gets a bonus of 250. So this is the way, one way we can introduce a system. And the more people that sign up, the more attractive it becomes for the others. And it can just coexist with the current system, and after a while, probably take over. Are there any questions? Yeah.
So I was a bit lost by the last step.
Yeah.
So the introduction to the system, I did not really quite get it entirely.
So I got the question that the introduction of the system was a bit complicated. The idea is when you tell people, here's a new monetary system, the first question you're probably going to get is, what can I buy with it? So what you need is you need a core group of people that are willing to offer value for the money. So that if you tell people about the new system, you can actually say like, look, you can buy food with it, you can buy a website with it, you can, and it's all, in the beginning, it's only a percentage of the price. But it's a percentage of the price you can pay with free money because you have 500 in your account. So if they would tell you, like, look, here's this new system, and you, for 10% of the price of your food, you can pay in this money, and you actually get a basic income from this money too. So you know that every month you get new money in your account, and you can buy food with it. The important thing is the reciprocity that's built into it, because you can say, like, okay, I'm willing to do that, but I don't want freeloaders to come and buy my products while they're not accepting the money themselves. This is why the reciprocity is built into it. If you want to spend a certain percentage of your money, of the price of a service or a product, then you also have to be willing to receive the same percentage. Does that make it clear?
Who do you see is managing the whole system?
The idea is that it's a distributed system. You set parameters in the beginning, and it's a little bit like the blockchain. It can run on the blockchain, but then the blockchain would need to change, because in its current incarnation, the blockchain is not fast enough, and it's too resource intensive to run a world economy. We would actually fry the planet with the heat generated by blockchain computations when we would run a world economy in it. But it wouldn't need to be a decentralized system. If the parameters need to be changed, then actually there has to be a consensus among the people that use it.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
The money is created by just put money on an account. It's not with a value that's like gold. It's nothing to do with it. It's just you create.
Yeah. So the money is created out of nothing. It's like the money we have now. The gold standard has been abandoned in the 1970s. So the money we have now is not tied to anything. It's just virtual value. The value is created because everyone believes it has value. Like I said in the beginning of the presentation, it's a promise to value. It's not connected to anything real. But if enough people believe that it has value, then it has value. Other questions?
Well, yes, we have actually many questions coming here online.
Yeah.
I will ask you. We have at least 6 questions.
Okay.
So the first one is somebody saying, very interesting. I'm an advocate of an UBI to solve inequality automation, but it does nothing to change a growth-based economy. You incentivize spending with the merge, which is great to a point, but it just puts extra strain on our world's resources. How do you avoid this? Also, who governs over this? IMF?
No, there's actually no central organization who would regulate this. What we can do is we can put a layer around the system with taxes to disincentivize a resource growth economy. Now, a growing economy is not necessarily a bad thing, depending on what you grow in. Like if you grow in services, if you grow in education, that's not a bad thing. If you have an economy that grows in a way which is extractive to the planet, that would be a bad thing. Now, there's a couple of things that would start putting themselves into place. If you have a basic income, people will relax a bit. There will be less incentive to really gather loads of money, which is happening right now. And what you actually create is more mental bandwidth for people to think, what is life actually about? If you go out today and you ask 10 people in the street, what would you love to come out of bed for in the morning? Most people cannot even answer that question, because everyone's running after the money because they need it to pay their food, to pay their housing, to educate their children. With this system, people would take it easier a little bit. And we can still add a layer of regulations around the monetary system to regulate disruptive behavior. But that could be that it doesn't have to be really built into the system itself. The reason being is the more complex you make the core system, the easier it breaks. So I'm a proponent to keep it as simple as possible, and then afterwards create a layer around it, which you can change to regulate all the negative outcomes, than to overcomplicate the core system.
I have another one. Somebody's asking, this system, like, do you have a name for it? Is hashtag blockchain enable, cross-border, independent of nation states?
I don't have a name for it yet. We're working with the group and we're playing around with a couple of names. We're probably going to come up with one in a very short notice. The level at which we implement it, you could actually have several instances of this system next to each other. You could have them on local levels, you could have them on national levels, you could have them on global levels. It's not the intent of this system to become the only monetary system in the world. It could replace the global monetary system we have now, but it can also easily coexist with other systems. And you can choose on which scale you want to implement it.
Another question is, who has developed this idea? Solely yourself? Has it drawn inspiration from something else?
I've developed the idea myself. The inspiration comes from Wordle with the demurrage fee that they had in the 1930s. And then at one point, all of a sudden, I thought, like, what if I combine it with the basic income? And that's when things clicked into place.
Let me check. Yes, we are more questions coming in. Who drives this change? Is it governments? Is it businesses? Is there a transition pathway? No need to have a specific answer, but like, have you thought about it? How can we make actually the transition from our current monetary system to the one that we're proposing?
Yeah, I think we need to create communities that are willing to use the system, and then those communities can kind of grow. It would be great if government would be open for a system like this, but it would make it easier, but it's not a necessity. We can create the system from the bottom up. As soon as we have a critical mass of people that are using the system, other people will go like, oh, that's interesting, I want to buy into it, and that way we can make it spread. Probably the best group of people to get on board first are entrepreneurs and people that produce food.
And there is more questions about this transition. Someone is asking, what needs to happen to make the transition from the current economy to a monetary system like the one you propose? Will it take long time?
So would it take a long time to transition from this system to the new one? It's very hard to predict because it kind of depends on the rate of adoption. If people jump on board, then it can go very quickly. If people are kind of reluctant to buy into the system, then it can go slowly. But I do think that given the current situation of our economic system, it could go fairly fast. I've been talking to Michael Linton, the guy who created the LED system, and he says it could happen within a 2 to 5 year time frame. That would be fast, but it is a possibility.
Okay, I have a couple of questions more. Somebody is saying, I accept the challenges of our money system and that it's deeply flawed. However, I also can't help but feel that we do need some kind of mechanism of enabling exchange.
So he accepts the challenges of the current system, but feels there is we need a mechanism of enabling exchange. I don't really understand the question.
Do you think that the monetary system that you're proposing, like, how do you see everything in terms of exchange? Like, how different is from the current one?
The main difference between this system and the previous system is that it actually distributes power to everyone. With the previous system, the power of money creation lies solely with the banks. And if you look through history, all the parties that had the control over creation of money always pull all the power towards them. This system would actually distribute the power of money creation towards every single citizen. It would create a huge shift of power and decentralized power too.
Okay, and I'm having a last one. Does this thinking relate to the work of people like Positive Money?
Yes, they were people of Positive Money were definitely an inspiration for me. I also read Bernard Liederer's book. I have been talking to quite a few people from alternative currency systems and complementary currency systems, and they all were an inspiration to what I eventually came up with. The one thing I noticed with a lot of the communities was, though, that everyone seemed to be very reluctant to think in scale. And I see this system to really grow in scale and probably even go worldwide, which I think is necessary if you want to really tackle the challenges we're facing on this planet.
Okay, and I have another one just came in. Are there any blockchain groups that you are thinking of working with, or is it too early to say that yet?
I've been contacting a couple of people from blockchain groups. I haven't been to any meetings yet, but that's definitely on the planning. Currently, I'm trying to talk to as many people as possible to get people interested, and if there's blockchains group that are interested in this project, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with them.
Okay, so far from our side and social media is all the questions we got for now. Does anybody else in the audience there has any questions?
Okay, are there any more questions here?
If it's blockchain, won't it require also a lot of energy to generate?
The question is, if it runs on the blockchain, wouldn't it then also require a lot of energy to run it? Yes, in blockchain in its current incarnation, it would. So I think as it exists today, it probably won't really be possible. But I do know that Ethereum, for example, is looking for a different way to authenticate things. So instead of proof of work, they're working on something called proof of stake. I don't really know how that works, but it should be way less power intensive. So we would need a technology that doesn't use up massive amounts of energy, because otherwise it would defeat itself. That's it from here.
Okay, yes, it seems like we are not having more questions here. So a little bit like to maybe to close the session, if you will maybe give to our audience 2 or 3 main ideas that you really want them to learn about this session, what that will be, like 3 or 2 ideas that you really want them to take out of this session.
Well, the main things to take away from this session is we really need to look at the way money is created, because currently it lies with the banks, and it is created in such a way that it becomes mathematically impossible to pay back debts. And what we really need to look at is the behavior that ensues from that. So that's one point. The other thing is we really need to shift our thinking. Because right now, if you look at people trying to look for solutions in our economy, everyone's thinking within the box of our current economic system, and we need to step outside of that. We need to start thinking how we can create an economic system that supports everyone, instead of how can we wiggle our way within the current system to somehow get a little bit of incremental change. If you ask me, it cannot work with the system we have now. It's as simple as that.
Thank you very much, Steph. And well, unfortunately, this is all we got time for today. I encourage everybody who has any more questions or comments to leave them in the chat below the information of the website, of this session in the DIF website. If you're also interested in more sessions related with economy and money and monetary systems, I recommend you to catch up Empowering Money Models. It's a session that we had the 8th of November with Frederick Malouf. On the 9th of November, we had Michael Linton's Money Pattern Matters, also very interesting. And on the same day, 9th of November, we had a conversation with Tim Jackson, Prosperity Growth. You can watch these 3 sessions in the catch-up if you get yourself a MyDiff account. And also coming up, we have the 24th of November, we have a session with Ken Webster about economic prosperity reinvented. I think this is all for today. I would like to thank Steph once more for joining the DIF this year, and I think it's all for today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.